Hey guys, Sneaky Snake here, brothers in arms, World of Warships, and today's video we're going to take a look at a nice game that I had in the Khabarovsk, the tier 10 Soviet destroyer. I'm divvied up with my buddy from Rush B, D-Mags, and he's playing in the Des Moines, the tier 10 American heavy cruiser, and we're playing some domination here on the map Loop. For my captain skills, I have preventative maintenance, last stand, survivability expert, basic firing training, demo expert, superintendent, and advanced firing training. And for my equipment, I have main armaments mod 1, speed boost modification, aiming systems, steering gears mods 2 and 3, and main battery modification 3. So, I'm going to do something a little bit different here for this commentary. I'm going to treat it a little bit more like Puddin does, where I'm going to talk a lot more about what I'm doing instead of the usual, well, what do you need to know about the Khabarovsk? Here's the stats, da-da-da-da-da. So, I'm heading over to the sea cap here on Loop. There's no real rhyme and reason why I like to go to sea most of the time. Whenever I spawn on the north side of Loop, I just tend to feel a bit more comfortable over here. Now, with the Khabarovsk and the very poor surface detection that it has at 9.7 kilometers, which is, for some of you that don't know, the same as the Zao, you have to be a lot more different in your positioning with a ship like this compared to other gunboat destroyers because, of course, the concealment is so terrible. And I felt that at the beginning, going over here to support my Shimakaze friend would be a pretty nice thing to do. There are 4 enemy destroyers in this game. One of them is a Grozovoy, which is also another very good Soviet gunboat. So I do have my work cut out for me, as all of those enemy DDs are going to spot me well in advance. But I felt that going over here to help this guy out, maybe he'll be able to bump into one of the enemy destroyers as he pushes more and deeper into the sea cap. And you know, if nothing comes over here, then maybe I'll be able to scoot on to the very northern tip of it and get an assisted base capture. And that's exactly what I'm going to do. You can see that my detection range does go all the way just to where the island in G7, the very western tip of it, is. So I know that if enemy DDs do try to come and contest the sea cap, that I will be getting detected at any moment, which will then allow me to put that in chat and say, hey guys, there's an enemy DD coming for the sea cap, we need to take care of it. But at the moment, we're still getting the base capture taken down, only 15 seconds left until it's over with. So I'm going to continue to head to the east now, because a lot of times enemy ships like to try and come around the 9 line, and as I say that, an enemy Iowa is getting ready to make a push here. Now, I was kind of surprised that he was able to get to that position that quickly, but then again, the Iowa does have a maximum speed of 33 knots, so I guess that shouldn't be too surprising. There's also a Hindenburg over there in support, so of course, I'm going to immediately turn away. However, because of the very sluggish maneuverability of the Khabarovsk, I accidentally bump into my Shimakaze friend, and then of course the Iowa gets some nice RNG, and 2 of the shells that hit me are both penetrations. However, the Khabarovsk does have a heal, so it's A-okay. Now, this is Khabarovsk 101, getting in close, about 10 kilometers away from enemy ships, and then slowly kiting away. Well, I guess not really slowly kiting away. This thing is capable of about 48 knots, but you can go slow, you can go fast. This thing is actually really difficult to hit at ranges of about 11 kilometers and more, and if you do go down to half speed, it really does throw the enemy team's shells off. I've seen it quite a bit, and you can see here I'm now going down at half speed, anticipating that the Iowa shoots at me. But you can go slow in this thing, constantly switching your speed, you know, going really fast, and then going down to half, and then to 3/4, and then back to half. This thing is actually a lot more adept at dodging shells than one might think, even with the very large rudder shift, with all of the steering gear modifications added to it. Now, at this point, I realize I'm way too far to the east. Going over to the 10 line is a bit of a waste of time, considering that I only have 13.5 kilometers of range, which is good for a destroyer, but the only ship that I'm able to get any shots at right now is the Friedrich de Grosse. So I'm going to now move back to the east, get once more in a slight kiting position, and I'm going to pepper this guy with the guns. And of course, the Khabarovsk does have exceptionally good gun performance. Both the high explosive and the Alpha, or the AP Alpha Strike is very good. The shell velocity is very good. And you can see here I'm just going to continue to pepper this guy with my high explosive shot. And I realize at this point, however, you can see looking at the minimap, I was already talking to D-Mags about this as I switched to a couple salvos there on the Shima, that the enemy team is getting ready to capture A. They have 3 destroyers over there, the Utiloi, the Grozovoy, and the Akazuki, and they also have a quartet of heavy surface ships over in support, while we only have an Ognavoy and a Worcester. So the A side is going to fall, so I'm already thinking about where I need to go to be able to stave off the assault that is inevitably going to come towards the B cap. So what I'm going to try to do is get to one of my favorite locations on the loot map, and that is in the vicinity of Delta 6, Delta 5. The reason why is because you're able to get shots into B. You're also able to go a little bit more to the west and shoot in between A and B as enemy ships try and come up at you. And if you need to retreat, you have plenty of open water, which is something that the Khabarovsk quite honestly excels at. It is a fantastic open water destroyer and one of the best gunboats destroyer-wise in the game, if not the preeminent gunboat. So being able to get into that position is going to allow me to stay at a pretty decent range to the enemy ships that will be moving in, and I will be able to get some very effective fire if they do try to push a little bit too far to the north. Now my team is actually in a very good position right now, albeit D-Mags is at half health and our Kurfürst is down to about 15k, but they're positioned well enough that when the enemy team does try to push in between A and B, that they're going to have some pretty decent angles to work with, and that is where I'm going to get to a completely different angle to be able to get shots into them, so that the enemy ships are going to have to angle to one side and let the other side pelt them. So you can also already see on a slightly different note that there are some dissenters in the chat that the game is already lost. And a little bit of an omen, a good omen for this game. I say, well, we'll see about that. So we'll indeed see how this battle progresses. 41,000 damage, 1 assist to base cap. Pretty paltry numbers right now, but don't worry, they will go up here really, really quickly. Now, the most important thing here, because I have such a large detection disadvantage to all of the enemy destroyers, the Udaloy is about 7 kilometers, the Akazuki is at about 6, and the Grozovoy is at about 6.1, 6.2, is that I need to be able to close the distance to one of those destroyers, you know, utilizing island cover. Now, I know that I said the Khabarovsk is a great open water destroyer, and don't get me wrong, it is probably one of the best, if not the best in the game, but to be able to get the drop on any of these enemy DDs, the first thing I need to do is I need to be able to close the distance utilizing island cover so that I can make up for my concealment disadvantage. The other thing that I need to do is make sure that I do not engage any more than one destroyer at a time, because even with the Khabarovsk's great gun performance, getting into a 2 versus 1 against any 2 destroyers, even if it was 2 Shimikazes, would be a lot harder adventure than one might think, simply because 2 destroyer guns going up against 1 set of destroyer guns, it really does tip the favor very heavily towards those 2 destroyers, whatever they may be. So I never want to get into a gun duel versus another or versus more than 1 destroyer. That's what the Khabarovsk excels at, 1v1 engagements versus other DDs. There's hardly another destroyer in the game that can match your combination of number of guns, rate of fire, high explosive alpha strike, etc., etc. So you never want to get in a situation like that, or at least if you do, utilize your speed to get away. Now, this position that I told you about, D5, D6, this is exactly what I'm talking about. I have a perfect angle to get nice broadside shots here into this enemy Yamato. Now, he has a very tough choice to make. He is getting shot at me right now non-stop, and he did use his damage control, so he does have a fire on the superstructure. Now, he can either turn towards me as I get a second fire on him and expose broadside to the friendlies that are just east of B, or he can turn towards them and provide a broadside where I'm able to get my armor-piercing shot into him. However, at the moment, I am deciding to shoot at the Akazuki, and even at 10 kilometers, I'm still able to get some pretty decent hits on this guy, breaking a lot of modules. You saw right there with the steering gears and whatnot. He is slowing down as he is, it appears, shooting at my buddy D-Mags, but he's at a position where I'm just able to get really good shots into him, and he will be going down here shortly. His engine is busted. He does not have last stand on, so he will be kicking the bucket. He does decide to engage me now, but I'm at such a range where, although he has great muzzle velocity at the start of the shells coming out of the barrel, they're not really able to hit that well at range. And I am able to pick up the Witherer and kill the Akazuki as well. So that's very important, because now the Yamato is without the potential smokescreen that he would be able to get stealthed up in if he stopped shooting. And you see right there that Snake Man took a whole load of damage as he provided a broadside to my friendlies as he was trying, I guess, to angle towards me. And, you know, that kind of situation where you're able to put an enemy ship in a yo-yo where, you know, you're shooting at them, and they're not angled to you, but they're angled to your friends, and then vice versa. Being able to just have them go back and forth in that kind of situation really puts them in a bind that most players are not really capable of getting out of. And now that the Yamato decides to turn towards me, I'm immediately going to turn in to try and dodge his 2 forward guns. Let's see if I'm able to do so. His shots go wide off the mark, and now he is going to burn down. Hopefully I'll be able to get the kill here. I do have 2 fires set on that guy, and now I've found the broadside of the enemy Montana. and I'm going to switch my focus over to him. I could have potentially gotten the frag on the Yami if I shot one more salvo at him, but that's a-okay, because now I have the full free broadside of this Montana to try and farm, and I'm going to be able to get to this island right here and reassess the situation. It's 516 to 329. The enemy Montana and the Grozvoy are both over in the B cap, so that's a very good thing. Now, the enemy Utaloy was last spotted in Gulf 2, and there is an enemy spotting plane that is flying around that I did turn on my AA to try and shoot it down because I do need it to die. However, the enemy team does get 2 quick kills, followed by the Missouri getting 1, but as you can see here, I am hard detected. Now, it's not from the Montana and it's not from the Grozvoy, so it means that the Utaloy is around here. Once, I already noted it, he was last spotted at Gulf 2, so what I'm doing right now is angling a bit more towards his last recorded position while I'm swiveling my guns around. And the Khabarovsk does have pretty good turret traverse. It's not as good as the American ones, but it's pretty decent. And you can see here, I'm thinking that he might be off my right side, but I still am angling more so towards his last reported position. So if he does open up on me, I will be in a decent position to dodge potential torpedoes, and that's actually what happens. I was continuing to move towards the island so that it gave that Utaloy a very poor angle to utilize his torpedoes on me, and I ended up actually getting out of dodge because of that. Now that I know that he's here, again, the Khabarovsk is a king in a 1 versus 1 destroyer engagement. So I'm going to drop my torpedoes, potentially anticipating him coming around the corner, but now that I realize he's dropped all of his torpedoes, there's no way that he's going to do that, as he does get caught bow into me, but I'm going to chase this guy down and try and kill him. Now, we both have about the same amount of hit points at the start of this engagement, and he also has access to a heal as well if he is running it. But what I'm going to do here is just utilize the speed differences, you know, starting to speed up, slow down, to try and throw his aim off. And in the meantime, I'm getting some very effective fire into this guy. Another big salvo, 2,500 points of damage. This is why you really don't want to get into a 1v1 versus one of these things. So 2,500 followed by 2,100, followed by 3,628. He's down to 2,500 hit points, make that 73, and then the next salvo should be able to take care of him, and that's exactly what happens. And if you've noticed, guys, once my heal finishes going all the way back up, I'm going to have 18,000 hit points. So in that engagement, I was able to kill a Utaloy from 17k HP, and I lost about 300 total 300 to 500 total hit points in that engagement. So that couldn't have gone any better, and now I'm going to utilize a very neglected and often misunderstood, I guess, thing that a Khabarovsk should be doing in the mid to late game, and that's getting on the caps. There's only one enemy destroyer left, and we know that he's way off to the east, probably going to get on the C cap. So there's no reason for me not to try and get the A cap right now, which I am going to do. The Khabarovsk is pretty decent in the mid to late game at getting on those caps when some of the stealthier DDs might be dead by then, when some of the radar cruisers have taken a lot of damage or they're gone, so that they're going to be a lot less aggressive in trying to get their radar coverage over the cap zones. And I'm also taking advantage of the smoke screen that the Utaloy did deploy, at least to be able to get the solo base capture. But yes, a Khabarovsk player, it is a second line support destroyer, but at the mid to late stages of games, you really do need to get on those capture points. And you can see, guys, that I do have an assisted and a solo base cap, which is really good. It's helping the team out. It's, you know, something that I really think Khabarovsk players should try and be a little bit more conscious of, Soviet DD players in general as well. I know that the stealth on this thing is pretty subpar, but it only helps your team out in a game of domination. At this point, it's 533 to 515. The enemy ships over at the C cap, the Grozvoy and the Montana, are getting ready to engage my friend in the Zao, so that'll be a very tight engagement. And what I'm going to do right here is just sit in open water. There's no fear of me getting shot at from anyone at the moment. The Montana, while he, I guess, would probably be within range of me, is not aiming at me at the moment. I'm just shooting broadsides here into the enemy Republic. He is getting chased down by my friend in the Missouri. However, the Missouri kind of screwed up that engagement, and he is going to kick the bucket here any second now. I do light a fire on the superstructure, and now I switch to the armor-piercing shot as the Missouri goes down. We're now losing by over 100 points, and the enemy team has the 2 caps to 1. So it's myself and the Zao. I do pick up the Confederate right here as I get a few more pretty good armor-piercing shots into him. The AP on the Khabarovsk is really good, and I'm just going to continue to farm this guy and try and get the kill. He is going to die. It's just a question of how quickly am I able to make that happen. The Zao over there, for whatever reason, turns bow into the Montana, and at this point in time, I was expecting the worst. So I realized that I have to try and conserve my hit points as much as possible, so utilizing speed and course adjustments is going to help me out. The Republique's first salvo from the front guns does miss. All the shells are not able to hit me, and that's something that's a bit of a weakness about that ship. With only 8 guns, if the dispersion is bad, it's actually a bit difficult for that ship to hit destroyers, even at medium range. And you can see here, I got another fire burning on that guy. I'm just sitting in the open. I'm okay with this. Just trying to throw his shells off by moving backwards and forwards or not moving at all. He's down to 8,000 hit points. I'm starting to get hit by some of the secondaries, so that's why I do decide to move forward. And I know that his next salvo is going to be coming at me here shortly. But the next one that I send downrange should be able to get the kill, and that is exactly what happens. Now, I still am detected, so that means that the Grozovoy is still around here. Now, there's 2 positions that he can be at. He could either be in the B cap in front of me, or he could be off to my right side. So I'm going to play both cards at once. I'm going to have my guns pointed to the right, as I'm going to go nose in towards the B cap. So if he does want to engage me, he's going to have a much smaller profile to shoot at, and if he doesn't try to engage me from the right side, my guns are already pointed over there. I'm now moving full speed at 48 knots, trying to get and close the distance to wherever he potentially might be, and my speed is actually able to catch him off guard as he appears just off my bow, but that's a-okay, because now I'm going to be able, like I just mentioned, angle in, nose in, and it'll provide a much smaller target as I get my rear turrets to turn around. I pick up the high caliber as I crack 206,000 points of damage, and I do have a heal ready to go, where it appears that that guy does not. He's on 24,000, or he does have 24,000 hit points to work with, but I don't think this guy has a heal, and you can see here that my DPM is just ripping this guy a new one, puts him down to 666 hit points, and then I snag my 4th kill of the game, and that ends the match. Alrighty guys, taking a look now at the post-battle results. 534,000 credits received and 17,500 total experience earned. This was not my first win of the day. I picked up Confederate, Witherer, and High Caliber, dealing 216,000 points of damage off of 489 shell hits. I sank 4 enemy boats, set 18 fires, had 1 solo cap, and 1 assisted base capture. Taking a look at the team score, 2,901 base XP. That is a very solid number in this ship. I have had 3K before, I believe, but any boat that you're able to get 2,900 base experience in, that is some very solid stuff. My buddy D-Mags, only 1 kill, only 1331 base XP, but he was still able to contribute to a Division Kraken. Taking a look at the detailed report, 114,000 damage dealt with the main battery, a very low number of damage dealt with the armor piercing. However, there just weren't too many situations where I felt that the AP would have been more beneficial, and I was able to get 101,000 points of damage dealt with the fires that I set, which is pretty impressive. And also another thing, the time and distance. The distance traveled about 94 kilometers. If a Khabarovsk is able to flex around the map and go from point to point to be able to stave off wherever the enemy team is trying to assault with medium to long range high explosive gunfire, that is when it is in its natural environment, and that is where a Khabarovsk is able to do, and it's able to do a lot. It's able to be at its best, and this is a ship that has received quite a few nerfs over the last year, year and a half, but if you know how to play it right, it is still able to have some pretty awesome performances, and it's a ship that I have enjoyed for the most part. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this commentary. If you enjoyed this, I guess, slightly different style that I've done, please let me know in the comments below. If you'd prefer to have me go a little bit more in depth with my thinking and whatnot, rather than a statistics-based thing. I know that's kind of my flavor here on BIA, but if you'd like me to try and move more towards that, I would certainly like to hear it from you guys. And with that being said, have a great day. This is Sneaky Snake for BIA World of Warships signing off. Thanks for all the support, and we'll see you later.